What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, we're going to try something new. I realized recently when I was going through my Figma that I didn't really do anything with my final project. So I figured, hey, why not take those high fidelity mockups, maybe work on them a little bit more, edit them. Even though they were completed because I'd finished them, I maybe want to go back, take a look at them and tweak them a little bit. But it would be a good time now to start working on a case study, get it on video and showcase how I go through my process of creating a case study from start to finish. So let's get started on that. Alrighty, what's up everyone? So as I was saying, so this is the project that I worked on. This is the second version of my hifi mockups. And actually, you know what? I'll take you through how this went. So these are my wireframes right here. This is a small user flow chart that I created right here. I guess we can start very in depth. So we've got our splash page, second and third versions of those, sign up and sign in. Then we go with the home page right here. We've got our home page with a hamburger menu that then turns into this menu. From this menu we can then navigate to our other pages. All right here, and then we'll go another level within. You've got a food menu, you got favorites menu, your cart, a search screen, address manager for deliveries, profile, previous order, a payment manager, future, further iterations of that, and the same thing applies for these ones. All right, so you've got an address editor. Right, same thing goes here. You got these drop menus, continue here. Right, but this is the user flow for the app. Very simple. This was my first iteration. This is my first version of the app right here. I've got splash pages, menu pages. So very rudimentary. You see, we don't even include text on these ones. Don't even have to worry about text. All right, we then continued off to, we have different versions of the homepage here. I think this is something I really enjoy about UX, is getting to try as many ideas as you want. Like this is your homepage, you have 3 different home pages, and your final iteration of this could be something completely different, which I really enjoy. You don't really want to limit yourself on this stage. All right, now here we refine the designs a little bit more. Started adding some text to these pages. This looks like it could be a mess up, but that's okay. Account pages start looking more distinguished. Very good. Now we've got our home pages right here. Different versions of these further refined. Ordering and checkout. And then food cards. These are for like when you click on a food item, when you want to add it to your cart. 2 iterations of this, how to present this information. All right, then we've got our third version where we start adding some more. Have a logo now. Experimented with different shapes instead of just the square. Started adding text, placeholder text, symbols, icons, things of that nature. Not everything changed though, as you can see from one version to the next. Very simple changes. We finalized our design here, what we were going to use. We've got our 4th version where we continue to iterate. So this is going to be our home page. And we noticed that we just expanded it. All right, look at that. We've got our account pages. Perfect. So that was our wireframes right there. And then after that, I did a second draft just to make it a little bit more colorful, to show some expressions. So this is my second version of my wireframes here too. Then as the course progressed, we started with our high fidelity mockups. And I can make a completely different video where I take my lo-fi mockups and I create different mockups, but this just so happened to be the one that I the color scheme that I ended up going with. I drew inspiration from a restaurant from a hometown that I used to live in. So the color scheme seems a bit bright and drastic, but I really am just taking inspiration from a restaurant by the name Avocado Express where I grew up. So this is my second version. Here you can see it starts to look more full. I've got all the pages I'm going to be using. I got two different versions of these menus here. Alright, and then I have made a second iteration of my mockups here. Notice how I changed the splash page here and gave it something more food related so it looks more final. Refine this look. We went it with the minimal albeit final look with the logo here. We've got all of our pages here. We've got our placeholder text. Got our entrees, sides, and the reason that these menus are so long is because you're meant to scroll through them. You know, Figma allows you to create prototypes, paste this page onto like an iPhone mockup, and you can actually scroll through it. So that's the reason why these pages are so long. One thing I do notice though, to continue though, is I'm going to change all of these item names. I'm going to give these names. I'm going to keep this lorem ipsum right here, just because it's a placeholder text. I don't really want to go ahead and generate all of that. But for title names, I'm definitely going to go ahead and get all of that fixed up. But I've got I got my food cards here. They look very, very nice. Again, I'm probably going to go ahead and change these food card names too, just because I want them, if we're going to create some hi-fi mockups, you know, we're going to paste these on some phone mockups and stuff like that. I really want to be able to like have it look like there's no placeholder text, with the exception of the this lorem ipsum right here. Added to favorites page right here. You know what? This seems a little plain. I might change this too. I might change this to a more colorful scene as well. Again, I'm not crazy about this page here. I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to shrink this card and I'm going to add a background just so it's not boring. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this. This is okay. This one though, I might put the button at the bottom just so that there's some uniformity, like this one. This one as well. These are okay. All right, those are my hi-fi mockups. This is a page I generated to create the wireframes for that. We'll get started on that soon. And I actually did generate some mockups that I'm going to go through right here. I don't like them. I don't actually like them. I will show you guys them because I did start working on this for a video, but I didn't like the final products. But here are some of the mockups that I made, you know. Tried to keep it very simple, and I almost think I went too simple, which is why I don't like them. I like the shadows. These are really cool. Again, you see, I ended up creating these mockups and I didn't like the way that this placeholder text looked. It just looked very unpolished and unrefined. This is a color palette that I generated just by scanning some of the photos. So these are some of the mockups that I created. Now, I like this layout. I like this idea a lot. The idea that I can showcase all of the final pages here in this sort of checkerboard pattern. I like that. I just don't like the way the screen cards look. So we're gonna fix that in this version of this video. I've got some more mockups here too. Now this is a little bit closer to what I wanna get. So instead I just copied the screens onto this like rectangle shape here, but it still felt very simplified. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to do something else. I also went and created different logos that we could then use. These ones I might keep because I actually really like these. I like this idea here too, so I'm going to keep that, but I'm going to change the final mock-up look of this. I don't really like the way this looks, but we'll go through that in a video shortly. So these are some of the hi-fi mock-ups that I created. I also went ahead and created something that I think we're going to end up using. Oh, here it is. I went ahead and created some PNGs of some vegetables that I think I'm going to go ahead and create some sort of art with them. There you go. So I had an idea for a home page that I'll get into much later about where I'm planning on using this design, but I went ahead and just created some PNGs of some fruits and vegetables using Unsplash and then using the tools that are available here on Figma. I just sort of used the arrow tool and the shape tool and just created these rough designs, but I'm going to use these to create a pattern that it's going to create like a sort of backdrop for our case study. So that's what we have right now. Let's get started on wireframing this case study. Alrighty, what's up guys? So now I'm on Behance. Love Behance. Always use it for inspiration. Whenever I'm having some design blockage or something, I just need some inspiration. I want to see some really cool shit. This is the place to come to. I just realized I typed Behance into the search bar. We're going to type in food app. And hopefully that's going to draw some projects that we can use and generate some inspiration from. All right, perfect. I already see a couple that I want to click on. Let's see. This one looks cool. Yeah, this one looks cool. This looks like almost like a Uber dupe. Oh, I guess there's only one page. That's funny. Foodsy. This looks interesting. See, I like this. Yeah, you know, this is a very interesting, nice splash card. Perfect. Logo. I guess this isn't an app. This is more of a brand. My food delivery. Let's see. This is a nice. You see, this is a nice homepage. I like this here. I guess this is a website though. This is not really a food app. Let's try this one right here. See, this is nice. Homepage, typography. I like this. This is a very creative way to show what elements you use. So these are the colors they use, and the font family that they use for this. We've got some cards here. See, now what's interesting about this one, this project here that we're looking at right now, is that it's very simple, very much like the hi-fi mockups that I created for my own project, but I actually like this one more, whereas I felt like the ones that I generated were too simplified. And I actually believe it might have to do something with the edges here, especially if you're not going to place them on phone mockups. Rounding the corners really gives it that good look that I really like. See, so this page here looks very similar to the one that I generated for my own mockups, and I actually really like this one a lot better than the one I did. That's just funny. All right, I see. Simple, very simple. These are squares, so I guess they weren't as consistent as they should have been, but I actually really like this. Very simple. Let's try another one. I like this right here. This is something we might emulate. Very cool, very cool. Not as much text as we would have liked. You definitely want to, you know, talk about the design process. See, this is what I like right here. This is something that we're going to want to generate. We're going to want to create, because this is simple. You've got the logo, you've got the name, you've got some of the tools that you use, and a nice, like, very attention-grabbing homepage. Your typography, very important to include it. Icons, look at that. Perfect. Oh, and this is actually advertising a UI kit, which is very nice. But this is, you see, these are very nice, very good, elegant uses of mockups. Very cool. They've got all of their cards, all of their pages displayed. Actually, I kind of like that, to be honest. I'm not even gonna lie. That's very nice. I do wish that there was more text, but it's not really a case study. It's more like advertising a mobile UI kit, but still, there's a lot here that we can take away from our own case study. Again, this is a very beautiful mock-up right here. Icons, love it. Homepage, categories list. See, I like this. Something like this looks very nice. Very cool. Very, very nice. Alright, we're going to look at maybe one or two more and see, and start wireframing. So this one's not even in English, which we love. But again, home page, you've got your legend here. User flow, great. Food lovers, we got some mock-ups here. Very cool. Icons. Very nice. Got your color scheme. Some hi-fi mockups. Very cool. This is very nice as well. And this will be our last one right here. Love the homepage. Made with Figma. About the company. Look at that. Design process, idea, research, prototype, design. That's very cool. I think I'm going to include something like this as well. This is a nice free mockup. I think I know the plugin that they're using to generate something like this. Typography and color, I like this. Simple and to the point. User architecture. We've got some home pages, some wireframes. Perfect. All right, this looks very nice. I think that we are very much inspired to get things done. So let's go on to the next step. So before we begin wireframing our case study, I actually want to go through a document that I created a couple months ago. I forgot about it, but I was going through my files and I realized, you know what? Let me take a couple minutes and talk about this, and then I'll include a link to this PDF that I created. I'll include that link onto the description of this video so you can go ahead and use this. Like I said, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's not stealing if you're appropriating it and changing it up to use for your own project, your own case study, but we won't get into the minutia. Let's just talk about this. This is a very basic outline for what the things that you want to include on your case study. So for starters, your title. Obviously, you want to title your project. You got a subheading. You can include the timeline, so how long it took you to create the project. The platform. Oh, sorry about that. I just downloaded a file and it seems to have been finished. But you can include the platform. So I'm obviously going to include Figma and Canva, which is a lot of the things that I use. I use Unsplash as well, so I'll probably include those icons. And then your role. Obviously optional, but especially if you're doing a case study, you want to highlight what you did for this project. Introduction. So if you want to include an intro for the company or the app or the user problem, this is a good place to do it. My role, I left this blank here, but there's two routes that I see that you can take. You can either take a descriptive route where you write out what you did, or you can sort of get creative and then talk specifically about the things that you did. So for me, I might include something like researcher, wireframer, journey mapper, interviewer, things like that, and I might use icons to convey that information instead of just text. Problem, if you solve the problem, which you usually are when you're doing anything UX related, talk about what the problem was, multiple problems if you had them. Make sure though, the one thing that you want to do is that any problem that you highlight, you want to make sure that your project solves that problem. Goals, if you have any for the design. Impact that the project is going to have. If you have any metrics, obviously you might not have them if this is a course or a project that you are just doing to get started in the field. You might not have any metrics, but if you do, always important to include them. Early ideation, so what were the first steps, your wireframes, your ideas, how did this project come to be? Testing, obviously not everything is going to, not every project is going to have this, so if you do, include it. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. Final designs, now this is where you can get creative. You can talk about, you can use your creativity to sort of convey and communicate all of your final designs. Development and then future steps, right? Where does this project going? But I've got some examples that I pulled from Behance, and I sort of just screen pasted onto this PDF that I think are very useful as well. So for starters, your title page. Now I think title pages are super important because they sort of give the user or the person looking at your case study a reason to stay. So obviously you want to focus a lot of creative information or creative attention to this homepage, because that's what's going to decide, that's what your user is going to use, or your reader is going to use to decide whether or not they look at the rest of your case study. So I've got 3 really good examples that I pulled from Behance, and I really like these because they're all creative. They all have something in common. They all draw you in. They use colors really well, designs, illustrations really well, so that you want to stay. You want to see the project and the case study through to the end. So definitely something to think about. You also want to include your role. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. You can add, instead of just creating a text bubble or a piece of text and then highlighting what you did, you can use icons and titles to sort of convey that information as well. You also want to talk about your design elements. This is another place where you can get very creative and really use your creativity to convey this information. Like all of these 3 examples, they're just talking about font families and color. So, but there's 3 different ways to present that information, which is all very nice. We also want to talk about problems and solutions, and again, you can get creative with this as well. You can include user flows. You can include design illustrations. There you go. We've got some more examples of some illustrations and some home screens. Here you got all the logo elements. So you've got an icon, you've got a home screen splash page, you've got some other icons here. Now this is something very simple, but I think even something like this, just having it available to you is very important because it allows you to sort of place yourself in the mindset of already mapping this stuff out. Instead of worrying about what do I include, what do I not include, you already know, you have a rough idea. You can then add to this, take away from this. The point being, don't get bogged down in how the structure is supposed to come together. Okay, so now I'm back on Figma. I just created this, I created this page a long time ago. We went through it was empty, but I changed the background so it's high contrast. But I just went ahead and pasted the text from the outline that I went through, the PDF that I created. I just went ahead and copied and pasted the text here so that we know generally the information that we want to include. And then this is going to be a rough outline of how the case study is going to read. So we're going to start with the title page, your role, design elements, problem solution, user flow charts, logo screens, screen mockups, and then highlight individual screens in the user journey. So I might pick and pull from the designs that we saw on Behance. But what I mean by this last one, highlight individual screens in user journey, is that I might go through the process of like buying something on the app through highlighting mockups. So I'll put home screen, cart, favorites, menu, and then I'll highlight some of these images or highlight some of these screens. Just to sort of give an overview, so a full depth overview of what the final case study is going to look like. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a frame here. Let's go ahead and add a computer one. And let's make this a MacBook Pro. Let's make it a MacBook Pro 16-inch right here. Perfect. I'm going to stretch this down quite a bit actually. There we go. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and call this screen case study wireframe. And what we're doing, we're just going to paste MacBook screens onto it. All right, we're going to call this home page. All right, so we've got our home page here, and what I'm going to do here, so now we've got our entire, a very rough outline of what our case study, how it's going to read. So we've got our home page. Let's go ahead and start working on our home page here. All right, so this is going to be our home page. Let's include, actually, you know what? We're going to include a design element. Let's just say right here. Let's go ahead and add a stroke. Let's round this bitch off. I'm going to go ahead and group these elements together, and we'll just call this. Hey guys, so I was editing this video and I realized that I forgot to film myself creating some of these screens for the wireframe, so I'm just going to go over them real quick. So where the video cut off, I was barely working on the home page. So for the home page, I was just going to add 2 illustrations plus the app name and a mantra here. Like I said, our home screen is really our attention grabber, so we want to let the creativity come through. The next page that I created was the your role page. So I was just going to have a photo, my name, and then I was going to describe my role on this project using icons and text, which I have here. The next page on our wireframe was our design elements. So that's just going to include our font family, which I'm going to picture here, and then the color palette, which I'm going to picture here, and I chose alternating cards for that. We then move on to the problem and the solution, and again I followed the same pattern, naming it, then stating the problem, alternating, providing the solution, and the text for that as well. All right, so we've got our user flow title right there, and obviously the user flow page is just going to be a copy and paste style job. So all we're going to be doing for the final version is just copying and pasting a photo of our user flow. So I think we can take the creative liberty of sort of just reusing an element here. Perfect. And then you know what, we'll include some placeholder text here too. All right, so there you go. There goes our user flow chart right there. And you know what, I'm gonna go back. Actually, you know what, I can stay the same. All right, let's get going with the next one. Let's title our page, Early Design Ideations. Let's go ahead and give it a stroke as well. Perfect, adds a text box. Ideations, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and decrease the size of this text so it's not competing with other elements. Oh, that's actually a little bit too small. Paper wireframes, and then let's go ahead and copy what we know how to copy. Right, and you know, as I'm wireframing right now, a page like this doesn't have to be confined to just one screen. So here, for the sake of wireframing it, I'm keeping this entire section of the case study confined to one page, but that doesn't need to be the case. I think for me, I would probably showcase them. So I'd probably alternate between paper wireframes, then I'd move over digital wireframes, and then, or maybe just find a way to present them so that they're in a linear fashion. But like I said, for the wireframe, we'll just confine it to one page like this, one screen. All right, and it looks like we're gonna need some more screens, some more frames. And let's go ahead and generate a couple more. Actually, we're gonna need 4 more, so that's what they are. Let's call this logo screen. Perfect. This is just the page where we're going to highlight the logo. So we're going to show the logo on the splash page, what the app icons can look like, and then just the brand logo maybe over a flat background or something like that. Oh, it looks like I added this twice. That's interesting. Why is that? Let's see. Then this one, I'll add that here. Let's add a stroke so we can differentiate it. And then let's go ahead and copy this text over. Let's make it black. Perfect. So here, let's go ahead and copy these design elements again. I'm only going to copy it once because I'm going to shrink it. Oh, don't want to do that. Alright, so that's a very rough outline. Again, this page is confined to one, or this part of the case study is confined to one page here for the wireframe, but this is something obviously that's going to be drawn out over several pages. But basically what you're going to be able to highlight here is through your mockups, through your final mockups, you're going to be able to highlight the user flow for the user, so how they're going to navigate through the app while also showcasing the final designs, which is really nice. So let's see, maybe I can add an arrow. I might have a plugin for that. Oh well, it's not gonna work, but you get the point. You get the point that I'm trying to stress there. All right. Perfect. So just like that, we've created our wireframe. Now this is going to make creating the final version of our mockups a lot better. This is going to reduce the time that you spent because you don't have to worry about what comes next. You have a very rough outline of what's to come. Of the first part of this series. So we created our outline, we then took that into Figma, used that text outline to create a paper wireframe, or actually a digital wireframe of what our case study is going to look like. In the next video in this series, what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go to my final mockups, and I'm going to go ahead and edit them a little bit. In the beginning of this video, I talked about some of the elements of those hi-fi mockups that I actually didn't really like, wasn't really happy with how they turned out. So I've decided that I'm going to go ahead instead and sort of make some finishing touches. I'll make a video about that. Once those finishing touches are good to go and I feel like the cards are where I want them to be from a design standpoint, we're going to start creating mockups that we're then going to use to create our rough outline or our second version of our case study. But in the meantime, thank you guys for watching through the end. If you like this kind of stuff, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Later.